guys, Samantha from Jessima Tutorials here, and today I'm going to show you how to create faux glass, or Murano glass, I believe is how you pronounce it. So here is a real piece that I am attempting to imitate, and here is our imitation that we are going to be making today. So you can see it's pretty close. And we're making a pair of earrings, so we're making the other half of that. So what you're going to need is some black and copper Primo polymer clay. And all you want to do is you want to take that and preferably have it fairly hard, so unconditioned, and maybe if it's quite soft, pop it in the freezer, just so you can chop it up into tiny little pieces. And you want to try to go as small as you can. And repeat that with the black. And then once it's chopped, you want to bake that for about, I'd say half an hour, 20 to 30 minutes at Primo's recommended temperature. Okay, there we go. And I've just popped them into a bowl to keep them all together. Basically, you just want to go through that and make sure that none of the little pieces are sticking together after they've been baked. Okay, that looks pretty good, and just have them mixed well together. So pop that to the side, we're going to use that in a minute or two, but for now I'm going to bring over our mould of choice, and I'm using this feather mould. You can use any mould you want. Okay, and then you're also going to need some UV resin. This is made a lot easier if the resin is UV, just because it makes the whole process go quicker. And you can basically get the pendant done if you take out the bake time needed for the little polymer clay chips. You can get this done in less than half an hour, and that's including all of the time it takes for the UV light to cure this. So it's a really nice quick project with the UV resin. You'll then just take any kind of needle tool and take that resin and make sure that you get that worked into all of the crevices and up against all the edges so that there are no air bubbles. Okay, there we go. And just make sure that you got the resin around the little area over here, just because that's where air bubbles often get trapped. Okay, and that looks about right. Then I'm going to bring over our little inclusions. I'm just going to grab some, I'm just going to sprinkle it over the surface. I'm not going to worry too much about placement right at the moment. That can always get fixed in a moment. And now I just want to pop enough inclusions in. Now you can do one layer of inclusions, or you can do two like me. I find that doing two is generally better, just because it creates a more 3D effect. Okay, I just want to get that one out because the chunk's too big for my liking. Okay, and then just move them around and make sure that you get some pieces up and into these kind of little crevice areas, just so that they don't end up looking plain or left out later on. And just try to get a good distribution of black to copper as well. So just move it around until you're happy with how everything's situated. Okay, and there we go. Now once you're happy with how they've been positioned, pop that into UV light for about 5 minutes, and that should cure it. Then we can add another layer, add some more of the little pieces, and then we can demold it and start adding our gold. Okay, then when it's out of the UV light, you're basically going to repeat the last step where you put the resin on, and then you add in more of the little flakes. The only difference this time is don't be going and adding any big flakes, you just want to be adding small ones, because you want the surface to be mostly flat. It's alright if a few peek out over the top of the resin, but you want it mostly to be covered. Also, I'm not sure if the camera can pick this up, but maybe you can see the bubbles around here where it's sitting under the resin. That does sometimes happen. Don't worry about it, it doesn't affect the project. So just in case you were worried about that or it happened to you, don't worry about it. So I'll repeat the last two steps and then we can carry on. Okay, and here is out of the UV lamp. So now we are just going to demold that. And the back is probably going to be a little sticky still, which is something that we actually want. Even if it's not sticky, the metal leaf will still stick, but if it is sticky, it just makes it a lot easier. So then you're going to want to bring up some gold leaf. I'm actually using my Sundrop gold leaf, which you can see has some slight variations in it. And this is some, obviously they don't come like this, they come in a nice proper square piece. I've just got some of the pieces that when I bought it didn't arrive properly, so don't worry, it doesn't actually come like that if you do happen to purchase it. Okay, then I'll just tap that down. And I'll grab another piece. And just make sure that you cover the whole piece in there. Okay, and just press that down properly. Like so. Okay, then what you want to do is you want to very carefully just try to pick off what you can. So any large pieces I will just actually pick up and take off. And I can even add it to the back if there are some areas that haven't got coated as well as I would have liked. So like over there. But other than that, what I'll actually do is from the front, because that's just the best way to do it, you're going to blow really hard and you'll end up blowing off pretty much most of the metal leaf. Okay, and from the front you can see that's cleaned up most of it. So then I will just go with a brush and I'll brush away the rest of the excess leaf, like so. Okay, and there we go. Once it's cleaned up, I'm just going to flip it on its back. And you're going to grab some UV resin. And you don't need a really thick coat, you just need a little bit on here. And this is just so that we can seal in that metal leaf, and then after that we are going to paint. Now you could try painting onto the metal leaf directly, but more often than not what happens is it just ends up flaking off and you end up with a fairly uneven coat. So I generally find it's better to just do a quick layer of UV resin, pop that into the UV light for like 10 minutes, or not 10 minutes, 5 minutes, and then we apply our paint coat. So finish applying your metal leaf, and then the resin coat, and then we can do the painting. Okay, and here is how it looks after that has cured. Now that in and of itself is quite pretty, so that's something to keep in mind if you wanted to just make a pendant like that. You also don't necessarily have to put the black on, but you will be able to see light through this, so if that's something you like, cool. But I do want to paint the back because I want the right finish. So I'm going to be using a high quality acrylic paint. You can use any acrylic paint, but I find that the more watery ones are a little harder to work with when it comes to this specifically. Okay, so I just dab on a fair bit. Then I grab my brush and then just go and work that across the piece until you have the entire back coated in your black paint. Okay, there we go. Now once that's decently dry, I'm actually going to coat the front of the piece first, and then I will add a resin layer to the back. The reason for this is because I want to make sure that this paint layer is completely cured and dry before we add resin to it, because if it's not, you'll have a lot of trouble with the resin. Okay, so I'm just going to put that back, bring over our UV resin, and this is going to be our finishing coat. Okay, then just spread that out. Okay, and there we go. Once it has cured, and you can see how beautifully that's come out. So now the last step is to coat the back. Now you can of course skip the UV resin and you can put a varnish on the back. I like the UV resin because it gives it a really nice shiny glass finish, which just mirrors the faux effect that we are trying to create. So I do just generally prefer to use the UV resin to coat the back. But keep in mind you can use varnish if you want to. Then you'll cure that and then you'll be basically finished, and I'll show you how it looks completely. Okay, and here we go. This is how the back looks now that I have cured the resin. And so that's basically it for the two earrings. So you can see there that it basically comes out the exact same each time. And just once more for comparison's sake, I'll bring over this piece. Now this piece, if you wanted these to look exactly the same, put mica powder in place of the metal leaf. I just personally preferred the metal leaf. I feel like it gives a shinier finish, and it was just something that I liked more. But if you want to stay with this sort of effect, then replace the metal leaf with mica powder. But yeah, that's basically it for today's tutorial. If you enjoyed it, please let me know in the comments below. There are lots of different versions of this kind of glass, so if you want to see me imitate more types, please let me know. There are a few different types I have in mind, so please do let me know in the comments below. And if you would like to support this channel so I can continue making videos like this one, please do consider becoming a patron. There is a link in the description below. Also, if you're not really into Patreon, becoming a channel member also really helps. So please do check that out as well. I would really appreciate it. And as always, I'll see you in the next tutorial. Bye for now.